Money, money, money. Anybody can get rich quick. No risk. All you have to do is think big. Have faith. Away I go for the pot of gold. The most sensational get-rich-quick scheme in history exploded in France over 200 years ago. It burst like a bubble. Now, the great King Louis XIV had borrowed most of the gold in his country to build his magnificent palace, among other things, so that when he died, the rich were poor and the poor were poorer, and they wanted their money back. The new king was only 5 years old, so this regent took over, and he had a plan. Or pay them back with IOUs, government bonds. That'll shut them up. But they weren't entirely satisfied. They suspected the cupboard was bare. But the regent had another scheme up his sleeve. Simply devalue the gold they still had. And that move brought almost everything to a standstill. Now, the great Scottish economist John Law had been traveling around Europe for 20 years, studying currency systems. And one day, the financial wizard turned up in Paris with the answer to the regent's problem.
Try paper money. Paper. Yes, paper. I'll open a bank. You've never heard of a bank? Well, here's how it works. It's simple. People who have gold bring it to me. I give them a receipt, a banknote, a piece of paper. But it's just as good as gold.
It was admittedly somewhat inconvenient to carry your gold around with you, and for the smart boys, the new banknotes became so popular, the regent proclaimed them the official currency of France. But that meant he now had a hand in running the bank, and unfortunately, he got carried away. The regent didn't understand that a paper currency must represent real wealth. But John Law did, and John Law dreamed a magnificent dream.
I see the Mississippi River, and that land they named after King Louis, Louisiana. It belongs to France. It's rich in diamonds, gold, furs, rubies, who knows? Suppose we form a company to get at it. We let people buy shares in it with those IOUs the regent palmed off on them. If he'd give us the charter, everybody would be rich.
It turned out that almost everybody did indeed want to share in the riches of Louisiana. But the Louisiana venture itself never quite got off the ground. It remained an undeveloped swamp. But forget Louisiana. The shares the thing. And when they were sold out, people started buying them from each other with their paper money. And the prices skyrocketed. Whenever more shares were issued, Law's house was besieged. And all this time, the regent continued to turn out more and more of the green stuff. In one street, investors moved into all the houses. Gates were erected at either end. One gate for the nobility, the other for everyone else. And every morning at 8 o'clock, the gates were flung open for trading. Some people even made fortunes renting their backs out for writing desks. One day a pauper, next day a prince. The combination of millions of paper notes and wildly inflated share prices gave birth to a new word that was on everybody's lips: millionaire. And then, one January morning, a wealthy prince walked into the bank with all his paper money and asked to have gold instead. It took 3 wagons to carry it away. It was great while it lasted. But the dreadful truth was there was only enough gold to match 1/5 of the paper money in circulation. Word got around. People raced to get their notes converted before the gold ran out.
We've got to persuade them not to cash in those notes. Your Majesty, all you have to do is put out a royal edict that will devalue gold. That'll stop them.
But it didn't.
Your Majesty, we still need more gold.
I have a plan. We'll take it from the people and give it back to them again.
Royal edict followed royal edict. Printing money is illegal. Selling gold is illegal. And finally, they closed the bank. John Law himself was somewhat agitated. The situation was getting out of hand. Since the money people got for their shares was worthless, the shares were worthless too. But there was still a ray of hope. The company would buy back the shares. But what would they buy them back with? Easy. Disregard Edict 3 and print some more money. And to persuade people that the money was valuable, Edict 8, gold coin is illegal. Prices rose to such an insane height that Law was forced to break the guarantee on his beloved paper notes. They would be worth only half their face value. But this move just turned Paris into a thieves' paradise. So they made gold legal again. And in the last stampede to get gold for paper, 15 people were crushed to death.
It's Law's fault. Let's get him!
Law fled to the palace. It was all over. The 4-year reign of paper money that began so successfully had ended in utter disaster. The Mississippi Bubble, as they called it, was the first of the rags to riches, to rags stories that have marked our history. John Law slipped across the border in disguise, broke and broken-hearted, never to set foot in France again. However, at that very moment, over in England, the South Sea Company was offering shares in the riches of South America. They called that one the South Sea Bubble.